what do you consider to be your biggest professional risk? And did it pay off or not? It could be personal as well. You may have already touched upon it in some ways.
It might, at the time, not going to college felt like one in a way. But even then, I was most of the decisions that I've made, even the risky ones, I mentioned not going to college, or I mentioned stepping away from the security of a 9-to-5. There was a risk there, but my personality was, I was so sure that I was right. And I was so sure that this would work that, making the step and taking the risk didn't feel as scary as it probably should have. But looking back, I would say the biggest risks would be probably leaving the 9-to-5. That was one where it really was. And it feels riskier to me because I had a family. Sorry.
Now, was that Graham Scott in my research of you which you worked with? Was that
I worked with him. And I worked with him for 2 years. Yeah.
And he was a promoter of you getting your wings and flying away, so to speak.
Yeah, he was great. So I went to, I'll share a quick story because it's funny, but I had never worked a quote unquote secular job, so I had always worked in ministries, and I had worked through very, very much network relationships. So I would work with one, and then I would go work with somebody else and go work with them. And so it was very natural transitions. When I went to go work at this job, I didn't know anybody there. It was a cold listing. I just went to go, apply and go check it out. And I sat down, and he's got a strong, he's from England. Got a strong accent. He's got a very deep, kind of gruff voice, and he's very loud. He's just a very loud guy. And I sat down and put down my resume, which I'd never had to use before. I'd never made one before I went in there, and I laid it down. And he said, "You worked your last job from this date, and you're still working there now?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Oh, you put on here, I think I'd put the next year's date. I'd made a mistake." So he like slammed it down on the table and grabbed a marker and crossed out. I said, "Guess you don't need that on there." And I just thought, like, okay, I lost it. I've already lost the job. Yeah. And literally I left from that interview and got a call from him, and he said, "Can you take a drug test?" I said, "Okay." Wow. And so literally within, not very much time, I was working with him. And just consistently, like, another person that just really poured a lot into me, let me make big swings when it came to marketing, expanding the ability of storytelling, running commercials, and he would take the heat if we got in trouble for anything we did. And when it came time for me to leave, like, he was pissed I was leaving, but was a super big supporter. And, we're still friends now. Like, we got together last month and hung out, but it's just really cool having those people that encourage to say, he would tell me, he's like, "You're going, like, you should be going somewhere. Like, you've got the ability to tell these stories. You've got the ability to do this stuff." Yeah. And he would try to give me the tools the best he could to help me get there. And I've been lucky to have those people sprinkled throughout my whole life that have said, "You've got this talent. Here's the tools to get there. Here's the money to get there. Here's the equipment to get there." Yep. And each and every one of those has contributed to my success.
Not to get too sideways, but the longer you live, you can connect the dots in your life. And I think anyone can if they do the introspection, and you can see. And, I'm a firm believer there's definitely something after this. Not that kind of the basis and background of your life journey or origin story, but I really feel as you get more down the road, you start to see all of that stuff start to connect. And if you embrace it, I don't know that everyone does that.